Knoebels Amusement Resort, located in Elysburg, Pennsylvania, is a place unlike anything else in America, if not the world. This park takes Americana to the next level with its classic atmosphere that you really don't get nowadays. It opened in 1926, so it's been around for forever, and it's been amazing, especially in recent times, to see how the park's grown and developed into what it is today. Now, the first thing you're going to want to know about Knoebels is the location, and it's located in the absolute middle of nowhere. But in a sense, it's got some charm to it, right smack dab in the mountains of eastern Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful location, and several rides take advantage of that, but we'll get to those later. The roads you're driving on getting to the park are windy, and then when you arrive, you park in a gravel lot. That is your first indication that Knoebels is going to be a bit of a different experience compared to your average amusement park. Parking is completely free, and so is general admission. If you want to ride any of the attractions, you'll either use their pay-per-ride system or buy an all-day wristband. Which you'll want to utilize is going to be determined by what you want to ride and how long you have at Knoebels. If this is your first time visiting and you're wanting to ride each of the roller coasters and several flat rides, definitely splurge for a wristband. But if this is your local park and you're just swinging by for a couple hours, the pay-per-ride option is very affordable. That's a common theme with this park, is that the pricing for things such as rides, food, and merchandise are not bad at all. One ride on the park's most popular coaster, Phoenix, is going to cost you $4. It's to my knowledge that it actually used to be less, but it's still very, very good. Another thing different about Knoebels is that not all of the walkways are pavement, many are actually gravel. A lot of these quaint gravel pathways lead to who knows where because you're not able to see any of the rides out in the distance. The park is entirely covered by trees, and in that way it sort of feels like a maze. Knoebels is a very easy park to get lost in, so be sure to hold on to a park map. When much of the pathways open up, like the big plaza for Phoenix, Knoebels has something that is just so awesome, and that's your old-timey amusement park music. At other older amusement parks, you might get this with like a carousel or something, but not creating a full-on park atmosphere like Knoebels does. It is so cool. I know some people may not care about this sort of thing, but I love it. Now, Knoebels has a ton of rides I want to cover, so let's waste no more time in getting into it. You'll find 6 roller coasters here and 3 built from wood, which are the biggest draw for coaster enthusiasts. I've mentioned Phoenix a number of times. That's their classic PTC wooden roller coaster, and don't let the size of this thing fool you. It may only be 78 feet tall, but there's a reason Phoenix has won the Golden Ticket Award for Best Wood Coaster multiple years in a row now. But why is it so good? Well, the only restraint on this ride, the only thing keeping you safe, is this stupid little buzz bar that rests so many inches from your lap. Like, there's at least a good foot of room that you'll get, and what that results in is some absolutely insane airtime. Phoenix has a layout that is bunny hill after bunny hill after airtime hill after bunny hill, so every time you hit one of these moments, you'll go flying into your restraint. It is absolutely amazing. It is also a very smooth coaster when you consider that it originally opened in 1947 at a park in Texas before making its way to Pennsylvania in 1985. A great complement to this ride is Twister, which is an in-house built ride, meaning Knoebels themselves stepped up to build this thing. The ride layout was inspired by the original Mr. Twister at Elitch Gardens, a coaster that also inspired Twister 2 at the same park, which you can still ride today. In that way, Twister and Twister 2 in Colorado are sister coasters, but you ask anyone who's ridden both and they'll tell you this thing kills that ride. Where Phoenix focuses on airtime, Twister is more lateral-centric and has strong all-around pacing throughout the layout. It's a pretty relentless coaster that I actually think is very overshadowed. Flying Turns is a one-of-a-kind ride that you're not going to find anywhere else in the world. It is a wooden bobsled coaster, which used to be a very popular type of attraction in the mid-1900s. But when all of them were phased out and no manufacturers were left to build wooden bobsleds, Knoebels said, "We want to step up to the challenge and add one to our park." It took 9 years to successfully pull it off, and Knoebels actually has a sign outside the ride that says they said we couldn't build it, but we did anyways. Many doubted this project because building a wooden bobsled coaster in the modern era was no small feat. A fully in-house project that had been littered with issues throughout its construction process finally opened to the public in 2013, despite the first test runs on the ride being completed in 2007. Now, Flying Turns has had spotty operations since reopening from the COVID closures, but if you see this thing running, you won't want to miss it. It's like riding through roller coaster history. The park's only major steel coaster is Impulse, which is one of 2 Zero Tower coasters ever built. It's oddly reminiscent of a Gerstlauer Eurofighter model, but for a knockoff, or at least for what appears to be a knockoff, it's actually a really good ride. You've got a vertical lift hill, vertical drop, 4 inversions, and very smooth tracking to appreciate on Impulse. It's an underrated coaster, as with many in this park, and I really enjoy it. Black Diamond is one of 2 dark rides in the park and is a fusion between dark ride and roller coaster. The The ride is themed to the haunted coal mines of Pennsylvania, and the physical sets you'll encounter are very fun. There's lots of moving objects and some trippy visuals that really mess with you. The final coaster is Cosmo's Curves, named after the mascot of the park, Cosmo. It's an E&F Myler Jr. coaster that actually pulls some decent forces for its size. Knoebels has a very interesting coaster collection despite only having 6, but the ride lineup doesn't end there, not even close. This might be one of the strongest flat rides or just non-coaster lineups in the country. The one you've probably heard about before are the Flyers, which are absolutely insane. If you time your directions right, you can do this thing called snapping, which will cause your plane to bob up and down. It's actually pretty terrifying. This is one of my favorite flat rides anywhere because I just think it's insane how you can control this thing. Another ride that I always enjoy is Stratosphere, which is a drop tower that doesn't look like it would be too intense, but no, it's actually insane. Looper is a pretty weird flat ride where you rock your wheel back and forth to invert. I've never actually ridden this one, but I know it's very, very unique. You've also got several other old and modern classics like a Paratrooper, a Cosmotron, a Satellite, Power Surge, and much more. While not a flat ride, one attraction I'd personally like to mention is the Haunted Mansion. This is one of those traditional ghost train dark rides where you've got these jump scares and flashing lights that'll scare the hell out of you. Haunted Mansion isn't fully owned by the park though, it's partly owned by another group of people who will charge an additional fee for this one, but it's only $3, so well worth getting a ride on it. I mentioned earlier that there are several rides that took advantage of the scenery, and those would be the 3 observation rides. The Sky Ride is easily one of my favorites I've done as it goes all the way up and all the way down one of the aforementioned mountains. There's also a huge Ferris wheel that provides terrific views and an old train ride that circles the perimeter of the park and goes through a little bit of the woods. There's still many other rides I haven't mentioned, but those are the notable ones that really come to mind. The next topic of discussion will be the food, and Knoebels has won many awards for best food in an amusement park. Personally, I do think I've been to other parks that have a little bit better quality, but the sheer variety of food is something that cannot be matched. If you're looking for basic options, you'll see places shaped like a loaf of bread or an apple or something. It's actually pretty funny. But I would definitely recommend branching out and trying one of the many unique things they serve in the park. Fried chicken and waffle sandwiches, apple dumplings, alligator bites, loaded baked potatoes, potato cake, and pierogies, just to name a few, are some of the things you aren't going to find at any other theme park. They have some pretty awesome desserts here too, like a classic banana split and my personal favorite, the ice cream waffle sandwich. Every time I visit Knoebels, I can always look forward to some terrific culinary options that won't cost a leg and a kidney like most other parks. I think the authenticity of the food is really what solidifies Knoebels' stance as a truly classic American amusement park. If I had to compare it to another park out there, I'd say it's probably most similar to something you'd find in Europe. Most of the theme parks in Europe are independently owned and focus much more on the overall guest experience instead of finding 800 different ways to take your money. Knoebels feels like it's achieving this mentality better than basically any park you'll find in America, and it's for that reason that I would not be hesitant to give them a 9.5 out of 10 as a final score. If you're a fan of amusement parks, this is absolutely a place you're gonna want to visit. For me, it's right up there with Hershey Park, which is amazing for a very different reason. Parks like Hershey will always have their place as their through-the-roof spending budget results in a crazy selection of rides and coasters. But a family-owned operation does have its many pros over a corporate park experience, and it's a nice change of pace in a market dominated by massive theme park chains. So now I'd like to ask you, if you agree with my review, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and give me a comment below. What do you think of Knoebels? I always love reading your guys' comments, and I try to respond to all of them if I can. Let me know what parts you'd like to see reviewed next, and until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys.